Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again. It is podcast time. And look, he's real. He does exist. He does exist. He's back in the saddle. 2K's himself. How's it going, brother? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I mean, after everything that has happened, I mean, it's been 3 weeks since I've been here. You go back 3 weeks ago, Tigers' playoff chances were, you know, they were starting to look a little bit better, but I still, at the time, if you asked me, I'm like, no, there's no chance. And now here I am, and we're fucking in.
Yeah, and this is a big deal. I mean, I obviously take out the Michigan National Championship last year. 2K's favorite teams haven't been doing so hot.
2024 has been a change, though. I mean, we had some rough years. We know basically since we started this podcast, it's been rough for 2K's, and 2024. We're changing over a new leaf now.
Yeah, and I'm finally excited to get into it with you, because I've been kind of going over it the last couple weeks, kind of saying, is this possible? Could a team really go on a run like this and actually pay it off? And to actually pay it off, 2K's really isn't a Detroit kind of thing. Usually they tease it, and then just fall on their face.
Mhm.
So we're going to get into that. I've got a lot of cool Tigers tweets as well as a lot of other cool stuff coming your way, 2K crew. And yes, if you are following us over on TikTok, what's up over there? If you're on Twitter or X, I still call it Twitter, probably always will. Our Facebook group as well as our Facebook page and the YouTubes, go ahead and make sure you give us a follow, give us a like. If you are on YouTube, hit that subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time we go live. We go live. Well, 2Ks, let's start out with some news, brother. Start out with some news because, like I said, it's been kind of a busy week in sports here. You know, we've had some, you know, flirts with history that have kind of come up short. We've had some others that have not. So let's start off with because I covered the 50-50 with Ohtani.
It's unbelievable.
He tickled 60-60, which this tweet is going to be a huge relief for the gentleman who is trying to sell the 50th home run ball.
Yeah.
There's 17 days on this thing, and it's still at $1.2 million. This is from Baseball Doesn't Exist over on Twitter. Ohtani's 50th home run ball bidding is up to $1.2 million. There's 17 days left to bid. So kind of ballsy. I mean, to have the auction open that long. Because if Ohtani hits 60-60, that ball isn't worth nearly as much. I mean, the 60-60 ball is going to be where it's
absolutely.
at. So huge gamble. Huge gamble there. We got a quick comment here from Back It Up Binge Podcast. What's up, man? Good to have you back. Any issues with the Tigers dropping 2 in a row to the the Chi Sox and playing the Guardians instead of the Orioles, who have owned them this season? All the tweets I saw, they're playing Houston.
Yeah, they play Houston. As far as I kind of figured, especially after watching the celebration on Friday night, that there was going to be a little bit of a hangover. Honestly, no, I'm not really concerned with the 2 games. White Sox are really bad, so you hate to see your team lose those games. But I think that there was so much that was riding on Friday night. They won that game, and I think that all the focus basically falls right to Tuesday now.
And if you think about it, I mean, the Tigers, to kind of get picky as to who they're playing is kind of I'm not going to say spoiled way of thinking, but you have your rotation set.
Right.
Everyone got out of that White Sox series healthy, which was probably the main concern. Just win the first one and we can screw off the next couple days because we're in.
And the thing is, when the Tigers got hot and started going, you had Tariq Skubal that was the only really basically your only starting pitcher, and then after that it was Pinch and Feder just putting together a plan of 5 or 6 different pitchers that were going to pitch through a game, and we didn't see those guys throwing here these last couple days. They're basically saving everybody till Tuesday, making sure that everybody's ready, available for that 3-game series, and so those are my feelings on it. I think what we saw as far as the guys that were pitching Saturday and Sunday against the White Sox are guys that maybe won't even be part of that team when they get started on Tuesday.
No worries, my friend. It's all good. It's all good. He said, sorry, Houston, my bad. Yep. No big deal. But let's see here. So yeah, the 50-50 ball. I was talking to a couple buddies, and I'll kind of take a little sidelight here. I don't think it's bad business to catch that ball and just leave.
No.
Because, I mean, this is the only 50-50 ball in the history of baseball. And now, after leaving the next day, here's what my plan would have been. Because if Ohtani wants it, he can bid just like everybody else.
100%.
And I would have went, okay, what's fair market value? 2.5? Okay, here's your hometown discount. $2 million and season tickets for the rest of my life. And if Ohtani says no, thank you, all fair and loving game. And then next thing you know, it goes to the auction house. I'm not with something, and this is if you rewind back to the McGuire, Sosa, their home run balls and stuff like that. You know, I was 18. That was 98. I was 18. And I'd have been like, yeah, I would have just given it to him.
Yeah, no chance.
But at 44 now, No way in hell.
You can have it, but you give me those batting gloves that you were wearing when you hit it. You give me that helmet. You give me that jersey that you were wearing. I want everything that you had on when you hit this.
Yeah.
You can have this ball.
And $2 million.
And $2 million. Yeah.
Because I mean that and honestly, it's probably going to go for higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the sheer fact, and this is something that I touched on last week, is that you're not talking about just an American market here.
Mm.
Now you're bringing in the Japanese market, which is the reason why he got the $700 or $800 million, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's kind of my little thought on that. But yeah, financial savviness of 44 turbo is way different than financial savvy turbo at 18. So yeah, that's a little different. What is this one here? Oh yeah, so as we've seen, the Coliseum had their last game.
Yep.
And Bleacher Report put this out on Twitter. It says Ricky Henderson's response to the A's last game in Oakland was gold. And he was quoted as saying, "I can't be sad. I have too much money." And if that isn't Ricky being Ricky, I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for, because I wouldn't expect any other response. To be 100% honest with you, that's Ricky being Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone as genuine as he is, I'm glad even at his advanced age now, he hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he didn't, that would be sad. That would be so sad. All right. We'll save that one. 2K's the Lions are on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
And probably some of the coolest uniforms I've ever seen.
Yeah, the uniforms are sick. The helmets are sweet.
The whole why isn't this their regular uniform? These are so awesome. This is from NFL Fashion Advice over on Twitter. Lions make it official. Black uniforms debut on Monday Night Football against the Seahawks, which should be a very good game, by the way.
But I kind of like it that they only wear them like for certain games, and not all the time, just because that's what I think makes these uniforms even better. Like you wear them on Monday night, you wear them on primetime games. Hopefully they make a deep run in the playoffs this year. Then
bring
you
them back.
Wear them and then bring them back. Yep. But yeah, no, these are sweet. I'm looking forward to seeing them tomorrow night.
I'm not a huge Lions fan. I actually want to buy one of those. That's how sick they look. So yeah, that's awesome. And I'm trying to remember the last time that we actually had the Lions on Monday Night Football. It's been quite a while, because last year the only prime time they had was Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. And maybe
that was kind of the big joke.
They get like a Sunday night game towards the end of the year or something.
And they probably got flexed.
Yeah, and that's one thing I could think of. But yeah, they're finally starting to get that. They finally have earned that respect. Sure. I mean, because for a lot of years there, they didn't deserve to be playing in any of these games. So, no, kudos to them. They deserve it. They've earned it, and looking forward to watching that matchup tomorrow. The Seahawks have kind of had their number, even in the last couple of years when the Lions have made this turn and been a lot better team. The Seahawks have still had their number.
Yeah, and yeah, the Seahawks. I mean, Geno Smith kind of I'm not going to say out of nowhere, but the last couple of years, a career resurgence. So, and this is first year, post Pete Carroll era, and it seems like they haven't missed a beat, or maybe have gotten better. So we'll kind of dive into more of that on the NFL rundown here. But let's see here. If you guys and gals do 2Ks and I, if you're new to the show, we used to put together a parlay for Sunday night games. I would pick 2 legs, 2Ks would pick 2 legs. So we figured, what the hell, why not? Let's bring back this little segment here. And this is over at FanDuel, not sponsored, but would really love to. This is for the Bills-Ravens game tonight. I took James Cook over 54.5 rushing yards and Josh Allen over 231.5 passing yards. 2Ks took Zay Flowers anytime touchdown and Khalil Shakir over 48.5 receiving yards. So if you guys want to ride along with that, there's still some time to get that bet in, and you can you could do this live if you really wanted to. But yeah, let's ride, and if you use the boost that they provide, 2Ks plus 1933.
Yeah,
not a bad little payout. Not a bad little payout.
At Buffalo, man, we talked about it a lot even before the season started. Obviously they lose Diggs. Who's going to be those go-to targets, or who's going to be the go-to guy? I kind of thought going into the season maybe it's going to be the rookie and Keon Coleman. And I was wrong. It's been kind of a combination of 5 or 6 different guys. Yeah. And I mean, I know we're only 3 weeks into this. Tonight being game 4, but this might be the best version of Josh Allen that we've seen.
And we I mean, not just us, but the media in general. I mean, just trashed them for trading the would-be pick to Kansas City where they took Xavier Worthy. And you're like, shit, this Keon Coleman dude better be good.
Right.
And he hasn't had the coming out of the gate like Xavier Worthy has, but Xavier Worthy's kind of slowed down too. So, whereas Keon Coleman's been steadily picking it up. So I'm not ready to say that they completely fucked that up quite yet, but they did trade the pick where, with the Kansas City could get Patrick Mahomes. So, but no, you are 100% right. This seems like addition by subtraction.
Yeah. I mean, it looked there, especially last year and maybe even going back another year, it looked like there was some times where Josh Allen, almost tried to force the ball into Diggs, and easy to do because of how, the reputation of Stephon Diggs, how good he had been. Stephon Diggs obviously showing that he was unhappy on the sideline a lot of times. And so I think Josh Allen kind of thought that he needed to get him the ball more. And without having him, I think it's been a better version of Allen because he's playing and targeting 4 or 5 different guys. And, last weekend, I mean, Jacksonville's terrible, but he throws 3 or 4 different touchdown passes, and they're all to different receivers, and everybody's getting involved in it. And I mean, they look like one of the best teams in the league to me.
In the defense, they pretty much either traded away or didn't re-sign the whole back end of that defense. That was kind of a staple there in Buffalo. So to kind of see those guys walk and then kind of see where they haven't been nearly as effective in their new places as they were here. Maybe even though they were great contributors to the team, great personalities in the locker room, maybe Brandon Beane must have saw something to where Father Time is catching up, and we just need a refresh. And damn, they have hit the refresh button, and they've been hitting on all cylinders. I mean, if you watched any of the pregame, I'm pretty sure they said Josh Allen is the MVP favorite at least 12 times.
Right.
At least.
Right.
If you took the over a 10, you nailed it. You nailed it out of the park. Let's see here. Let's kind of let's say that. Let's get into the Tigers here, 2Ks. Let's get into the Tigers. I'm going to start off by actually continuing what I've been saying the past couple weeks. This is the hottest team in baseball.
Oh, 100%.
I don't give a shit if they lost the last 2 games of the White Sox. Don't care. Don't care one bit. Like I said, the give a fuck for the last 2 was gone. It's like let's get out of here healthy. Yep. We're not going to tax the bullpen. We're going to be as safe as possible. And if the White Sox can't beat you in that mode, then I mean they are the worst team in MLB history. But I don't care who they play right now. They're going to Houston. Houston's been kind of hot, but they've been kind of they haven't been the Astros that we have seen of the past. They had this really slow start. Had it not be for the slow start, you might be seeing them with the best record in baseball, let alone the American League. They could have been the one team that had the 100-win season. But with as hot as this Tigers team is, I don't care who they play.
Yeah.
They are going to be a tough out, especially in a 3-game series where anything can really happen.
With everything that they've done here in the last, I would say you got to go about 40 games, 42 games. There's nobody there's Houston. When you start talking about, as a Tigers fan, who would you rather play, Houston or Baltimore? Houston and Baltimore are sitting there like, we don't want to play against the Tigers.
No.
The Tigers are in this zone right now where they don't care who they play. To where Houston and Baltimore are in the seat, and they've been in the driver's seat. They're the number 1 and number 2 wildcard teams. They don't want to play against the Tigers. So
they want to play against the Royals.
Yes, the Tigers are in a situation right now where nobody wants to play against them because they're the team that's they're the Texas Rangers of last year. Texas Rangers got hot. Arizona Diamondbacks of last year. They got hot at the right time. And now we're about to see. We're about to see. And if they don't get past this first series and they lose to Houston in this, I think I know me personally as a Tigers fan, obviously going to be upset, but I'm going to be like, all right, now you take this. Kind of like the Lions from a couple years ago. You take this in stride now.
Yep.
You make additions in the offseason. You know now that you have the core to get you here.
Yeah.
You know now that it's time to go spend some money and make a run for this and that we can do it. So no, it's been The stat that they showed on Friday night, and that's why I said 42 games, was 42 games ago, and that was, so this is not counting what happened Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
42 games ago, at that time, they were given a 1% chance to make the playoffs, and from that time they went 31-11.
Yep.
To Friday, and obviously needed some help from Minnesota. Minnesota went; they did not play good down the stretch.
Minnesota's collapse was epic.
But like when Tigers are winning games like they are, they're putting the pressure on. The Tigers don't win all those games, and they don't go 31-11. The Twins can just kind of coast into that spot because where they had set themselves up at that time of the year. The Tigers just kept on winning. Minnesota starts to feel the pressure, and I think the pressure just got to them, and they collapsed.
Well, not only Minnesota, but you can include Kansas City in that as well,
100%.
and for a little bit there, the Orioles. I mean, none of those teams, and I'll throw my Red Sox in there too because they were in the mix for the longest time. No one wanted to win.
Nope.
No one wanted to win games, and the Tigers said, "Well, if you guys aren't, we will.
Yeah.
We will."
And
To me, that's the scariest part of this team, 2Ks, is they're young enough to not really know what they're doing. It seems and we've been saying this for many years, even though there's a lot of Tigers fans that have been up our ass. AJ Hinch is the perfect coach for that team. And if it wasn't for him,
if he's not the manager of the year, I mean, I don't know what. How is he not? Like with what he did and how he got this team and what they went through. I mean, I think you sent over the picture of that tweet of everything that they went through this season. So I'll save that, until we get to that point. But everything that they went through to get for this team to make the playoffs, AJ Hinch should, crown the fucking guy. He's the best manager in baseball right now. He is the best manager in baseball.
Yeah, I firmly believe that he's taken that over from Stephen Vogt. Even though Vogt has had a hell of a season in Cleveland.
100%. But they didn't go through.
No.
And they have a nucleus. They were a team they were expected to win that division at the beginning of the year.
Hands down.
And they didn't go through the injuries, and they didn't have to send down. I mean, Tigers are sending down at the beginning of the season their number 3 hitter, and he plays majority of the games in AAA this year because they couldn't get him to figure it out. Their leadoff batter plays majority of his games in AAA because he couldn't figure it out. They bring him up with 50, 60 games to go in the season, and the guys just take off. And then it's not even that. Because if you look at the numbers, even through this run, it's not like the Tigers just started hitting the cover off the ball.
No.
They just situational hitting and pitchers that we had never even heard of. And look, you're talking to a guy that knows I follow the Tigers farm system more than your average human being, your average fan. And there's pitchers in this lineup or this rotation right now that I've never even heard of. And they pitch their ass off.
Yeah.
So it's just it's an incredible run. And I think that's what makes Hinch so good is just how he's able to piece together these games and take these pitchers and put them in situations to be successful. And even with his batting lineups, you're throwing out guys out there that these are a bunch of guys that not very many teams even really. Name guys in the Tigers batting lineup that are guys that other teams really would want.
Well, look at it too. They trade away Flaherty. They trade away the old buddy from the bullpen, who was arguably one of the best pieces on the market when it comes to bullpen help.
Talking about Chafin.
Yeah. Yeah, the dude with the long hair. Yep. And so there's 2 major pieces right there. And like I said, there's a tweet. I'm going to get into some tweets here, but for them to overcome what they overcame to get here is like you said, very improbable because they had less than a 1% chance. I want to say it was 0.8% chance to make the playoffs. And it kind of came down to if shit felt right, they could have that number 5 seed, not the number 6 seed. So it is what it is. And as we saw last year, like you pointed out, and I kind of talked about a little bit last week, is with this new playoff format, those number 1 seeds didn't do good at all last year. So it's kind of, have teams learned from what the teams last year did to kind of help avoid that? I don't know, but I absolutely love the fact that these wild card are now 3-game series instead of 1-gamers.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And this playoff in particular, I'm very, very excited about because of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
There's,
I mean, that's the thing. Like for these teams that are playing, I think there's something to be said about teams that are playing meaningful baseball all the way to the end.
oh yeah,
You look at the Yankees, Cleveland. They've been locks. They've won that division. They've been locks for a while now. They've played a lot of meaningless baseball here down the stretch. Now all of a sudden they got to flip a switch and turn this on after we get past the wild card rounds and turn it back on and be ready to go. I think that's hard.
Yeah,
I think that's hard to do. I mean, it's that's like coming back off the All-Star break, but even more of an extended break on that. I mean, like I know you're still playing the games, but the games aren't the same. And so there goes Derrick Henry.
How is he that big and that fast? That is just not fair.
And have that many miles on him.
Yeah.
So it's like,
jeez, oh Pete. Well, if you had Derrick Henry as the first touchdown scorer in the game, cash that one.
Yeah,
cash that one. But 2Ks, we've been teasing these tweets, so let's get into these Tigers tweets here. This is from Jed at TigersJUK. This guy's a really cool follow if you guys don't follow him. And this is kind of going back to your point, is even if they lose both games, games 1 and game 2 in Houston, take it totally in perspective. He says, I hope you are all able to enjoy this for what it is. We will never see anything like this again in Detroit. The good teams had expectations, which led to disappointment. Even when they won divisions, etc., it was expected. If they win 110 games next year, it won't feel like this. No, and that's the whole gritty Tigers or Tigs, whatever the T-shirts and everything they were making. I mean, this is he hits the nail on the head. Totally hits the nail on the head. Let's check out this next one here. Yeah, this is the kind of the recap of what you from Jed again. Torkelson had to be sent down. Meadows had to be sent down. Kenta had to be moved to the bullpen, which is a piece that we really haven't talked about because he was kind of the big pitching acquisition, and really didn't pan out. Completely sucked.
He was supposed to be a back end of the rotation guy that was going to eat innings and just be a solid 4 or 5 guy, and couldn't cut it there. No.
So they move him to the bullpen. Casey Mize gets hurt again. Carp gets hurt. Wenzel got hurt. Olson got hurt. Was it Faedo? Faedo got hurt. Baez, worst hitter in baseball. Flaherty traded away. 1 win away. Yeah. And ironically enough, this whole winning streak started when they sat Baez's ass on the bench. Yeah. So I think that goes to show you, if you are the Tigers front office, is cut this guy a check and let him walk.
Yeah, it's and I think that was the decision that was made. They came up with some lame ass excuse that he had an injury or something. I don't think that was the case. I think
sprained his vagina.
I think it was just that they were done with him and they wanted to kind of keep away from the drama, I guess is what you would say, what you would call it, and just kind of whatever, let him disappear. Yep. And I think after this season is over and the off season, I don't think there will really be any talks about it. I just don't expect us to ever see Baez in a Tigers uniform again.
Which I'm sure most Tigers fans will definitely appreciate.
100%. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, obviously, like they get Trey Sweeney in the Flaherty trade from the Dodgers, and he becomes the shortstop. And it's not like he's hitting the cover off the ball and whatnot, but it's
he's
just
hitting the ball.
He's hitting the ball. He's and it's just that this group of all these young kids, these rookies that are all basically getting their first shot in the majors, and it's like they just struck lightning in a bottle and got hot, and just having fun and for this last month and a half, 2 months, they've just played the game the way that the game is supposed to be played.
Yeah. Again, kudos to Hinch. I got one more, and then I got something. Here's from Brad Galley. I believe he's one of the beat writers or something over there in Detroit. Official: the Tigers will travel to Houston to face the Astros in the wild card series to open the playoffs. And one last one here, 2Ks, to kind of tie a bow on the Tigers regular season. Tarek Skubal was your American League Triple Crown winner.
Yeah, I mean, best pitcher in baseball.
Yes,
best pitcher in baseball. All right.
So first Miggy, now Tarek Skubal, another Triple Crown in the Motor City. That's from Barstool Sports over on Twitter. And we kind of expect Chris Sale to be the Triple Crown in the NL as well. So, and this hasn't been done in the American League since Justin Verlander. And there is only one other dude that's done it, and cannot remember his name. It's from like the 60s.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
kind of cool that 2 Detroit Tigers pitchers have done it. Both, relatively recently, and then throw like it says here, throw Miggy in there. I mean,
yeah. Well, it's in today's game, like we have so many good offensive players as far as what they up and coming young players that have been in the league for a while now. But it's hard to find that ace number 1 pitcher, go out there, give him the ball, and he's going to give you the best chance to win every single day that he pitches. There's very, very few in the game. Very, very few in the game. And there's not a lot of young up and coming ones. I mean, we talked a lot, this year about Paul Skeens. Obviously, he's going to be that in his career.
We were labeled Paul Skeens Dick Writers,
yes,
by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Hey,
I'll write. I'll hand up. That's us.
And Tariq Skubal deserves that also.
Yeah.
And I mean that's just how good of a pitcher he is. And the thing is, the Tigers, they go out there and they take care of business and win that game on Friday night. Then they don't have to pitch Skubal, so now Skubal's available to go game 1.
Yep.
I mean that has to give Tigers a lot of confidence going into the game on Tuesday, knowing that you have the best pitcher in baseball on the bump for you in that game. And if the Tigers can go out and beat Houston in game 1, that right there, you can set the tone of that whole 3-game series right there by winning that first game. So, and put the pressure on Houston. So, no, the Tigers are in a very good situation where they're at.
And one layer of business that one box that Skubal checks that a team like Kansas City doesn't have, really Baltimore doesn't have. They thought they had, but they really don't. Minnesota doesn't have, Boston doesn't have, is a streak stopper. You can lose 2 and 3 games in a row, but as soon as a pitcher like Skubal gets up there, your bullpen gets more of a rest. You're kind of expecting him to go 6, 7, maybe even 8 innings, and you're expecting to win. Anytime you have someone like that can stop the bleeding, that doesn't make a 4, 5, 6 game losing streak is huge.
Well, he makes everybody in the clubhouse just relax and play their game. Nobody has to feel like they have to go out and do something out of their norm. They don't have to go and try to do something crazy in their at bats. They don't have to. He's going to keep you in the ball game. He's going to give you a chance to win, and you can't ask for anything more out of your horse, your starting pitcher.
No, and now rewind to the trade deadline. If they do move him to like a Dodgers, that's fucking scary.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And look, I'll sit right here and be honest with you. I was one of them that was saying at that time, hey, if Baltimore is willing to throw Jackson Holiday in there, if Baltimore is willing to throw, their 2 tops or something in that trade, hey, let's talk. And, that was part of me that was like kind of looking at this as, once I found out the Tigers were making the playoffs on Friday, I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be something to get Baltimore and let Skubal just shove it up their fucking ass on Tuesday in that game 1 and let them, and just have them regret that, because Baltimore is in a situation where they can sit there and talk about and brag about whatever they want to do. I mean, that's what their fucking fans were doing at that trade time, is how good this farm system how good this farm system is. Well, it doesn't fucking matter how good, because last I heard, they don't hand out rings for having the best farm system in the game. So how long is Baltimore going to do that until, because right now, do I think Baltimore is a really good team? Absolutely. Do I think they got a lot of young up-and-coming players? Absolutely. They don't have the pitching to do it, and Corbin Burns is going to test the market after this season, so this is their year to do it.
And after his performance this year, I don't know if I'd take a risk on him,
right?
Especially with the amount that he's going to be, garnering or requiring. So,
but and now I can sit here 3 months later and say, man, was I wrong on that? And boy, am I glad that Skubal is still there. I hope that the Tigers are able to get something done and
they have to.
And get him extended. I know that they still have him under team control, but like, what more does the guy have to do before you lock him up and
do it now, because it's never going to be cheaper, because this guy is only going to get better. And that's kind of where with the Rafael Devers situation in Boston, they waited and waited and waited, where you see teams like the Braves are notorious for this, signing their young players really early. Ronald Acuna Jr. Now there's many people that are open arms that he's vastly underpaid, and he is. but that's
But even like to me, there's a thing that there's a team morale that goes around
sure.
it. Like that's an important factor in it. And if you get deals like this done, like regardless if you do it now or regardless if you wait, you're gonna pay this guy a shit ton of money
Yeah.
because he fucking deserves it. So my thing is get it done
Mhm.
so that it's not even talked about, and you have all the respect from him and you have all the respect from his camp. Because if you keep dragging this out, all it does is it puts a cloud over the
Creates
situation, and it creates it's not what you want.
It totally creates angst. And if you're a free agent and you're like, okay, well, Scooble's going to be there for the next 10 years.
Mhm.
Okay. That's the quote unquote Justin Verlander piece that they had. And it makes it more attractive for free agents to come there or want to go there.
100%. And I mean, look at Co-America Park these last few days as far as how it's just filled up. Detroit fans are going to be where if their team is good,
Yeah.
they're going to show up, and they're some of the best fans that there are. And if you talk to opposing teams, you hear from anything that they're saying. They're always, I mean, look at what some of them teams were saying after the NFL playoffs last year about having like the Rams having to go to Detroit and play there in the playoffs against them, and how that was just a difference maker going in there.
Oh yeah.
You give Detroit fans a team that's worth rooting for, and people are going to show up, and that's what for me the Tigers fans these last 10 years we have watched just complete shit shows. Watching players that we've never even have fucking heard of.
Right.
And watching these teams win 60, 70 games in a season and just an absolute fucking joke. And now we finally have given them what they deserve. And now watch how, because hey, you go back to those years when Miggy was doing his thing, and you had Victor Martinez, and you had JD Martinez, and you had Prince Fielder, and you had all those guys. That fucking place was, I mean, that place was rocking on a weeknight.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because the last time Tigers made the playoffs was 2014. Last time they won the World Series was 1968. So let's take a look at the 2014 roster.
84.
Oh, it's yes.
We remember those things, when it's been that long.
But let's take a peek here at the lineup of 2014. You had Avila at catcher, Miggy at first, Ian Kinsler at second, Andrew Romine, which if anyone's in the market for an Andrew Romine autographed baseball, I have one that I might be able to get to you extremely cheap. Nick Castellanos at third base. I totally forgot he played third base. JD Martinez at left field, Austin Jackson in center, Torrey Hunter in right, and Victor is DH. Now the bench, Rajay Davis, Eugenio Suarez, Don Kelly, Brian Holiday, Ezekiel Carrera, Danny Worth, Alex Gonzalez, Tyler Collins, James McCann, Steven Moya, and what does that last one say? Hernan Perez.
Yep.
And pitching staff, Justin Verlander, Rick Porcello, Anibal Sanchez, Max Scherzer. Not going to go through a lot of the relievers, but that's the job of Chamberlain. Drew Smiley. Who was the closer on that team?
Benoit.
That's right. Phil Koch, Buck Farmer, who I think Buck Farmer's still with somebody right now. But just to kind of give you an idea what the lineup looked like in comparison to this year, which I probably should have been more on top of things, but I did not get the lineup. But if you go to Baseball Reference and look this up, they have pictures of all the gentlemen that played, and I'm like, okay, these are some old ass pictures. And the only one that's in a Tigers hat is Miguel Cabrera and Alex Avila. And what I thought kind of comical too was if you look at the batting averages here, 2Ks, Avila's at 218, Cabrera's 313, Kinsler's 275, Andrew Romine's 227. He was terrible. I couldn't stand him. Castellanos is at 259, is still very young. Castellanos, he was 22, was the youngest player on the starting roster. JD was hitting 315. Austin Jackson 273, Torrey Hunter 286, and Victor at 335. So definitely a completely different style type of roster than what we're seeing run out there today. I mean, that's like I said, there's one guy basically in their 20s and with a bunch of vets. You look at this roster, excuse me. a lot of younger guys and not a lot of vets. And the ones that you would consider vets haven't been there that long.
Long.
I mean, Scooble's
their vet.
Yeah.
Their guy that, yeah.
I mean, there really isn't like a, and when I say grizzled vet, and I don't know why Rajay Davis always comes to mind. I know we just saw him there on the graphic, but even if you go back to 2016 when the Cubs beat them in the World Series, Rajay Davis played a very important utility role in that team as well. There really isn't that guy that's been around the block.
No.
I mean, yes, you have a head coach that's been around, been up and down all around, lived in every house on that block. So maybe that's the difference there, where the inexperience isn't really going to bite them in the ass. I really don't, especially the momentum that they have right now. I don't foresee them just going into Houston and laying an egg. I mean, if they lose in 3, they lose in 3.
Right.
But and if they lose in 2, they're going to be 2 very, very, very close games.
No, I think I think it goes right on to, we just talked about Scooble is their guy. Scooble's their leader. They ride on him. They rode on him, through this hot streak, and he's gonna be on the bump on Tuesday. And if they win that game, they win that series. If Scooble goes out there and they're not able to get him any run support and they lose a game, it's going to be very hard to win 2 in a row after not knowing that he cannot play a factor in it.
Do they have the
tone?
Do they have the pitching matchups and odds out yet?
I know it's going to be Scooble against that Valdez.
Yeah, I can't stand watching him pitch.
Mm-mm.
It's not that he's a bad pitcher. I just
very good. It's going to be a good matchup.
I just physically don't like to watch the way he pitches. He pitches. Normally, left-handed pitchers there's beautiful execution, aside from like Randy Johnson, Chris Sale, where it's all knees and elbows. Mm-hmm. He just does it very differently, and I just something I just don't care for it.
No, they do not have any.
They don't have the odds
on it yet. Let's see what FanDuel we got.
Because that starts on Monday or Tuesday, correct?
Yes.
This is Sunday, so maybe it'll have to wait till tomorrow. But I'd be curious to see what the odds are. And
it was Josh Allen.
I would not want to try to tackle him.
No,
like at all. Well, let's. I got a couple other things.
Probably not a player in the NFL I'd want to tackle, though. To be honest with you,
I don't know. So some of those kickers I probably would. Justin Tucker looks like a bitch, which he probably isn't.
No, I bet they all can.
I mean, Tyler Bass looks like he's 12, but yeah.
Yeah,
could you imagine trying to tackle Pat McAfee in his day?
Yeah,
no. Especially considering dude led with his head. And
he's already got a few screws loose. Not the kind of guy that I.
You definitely don't want to tackle the crazy ones. Well, 2Ks. The vast majority of the playoff seeding is set. We do have a random situation here because of the weather and the hurricane that went through. We've got a doubleheader that has to be played tomorrow between the Mets and the Braves. And I kind of highlighted last week about let me see, did I pull that up here? I don't think I did. All of the things that had to happen for the Mets to overtake the Braves, or even the Phillies for that matter, all of the injuries. I mean, this team is like if it wasn't for Ozuna's season, this team and Max Fried has come in huge lately. Potential free agent Max Fried, come sign with the Red Sox. You'll love it there. But no, the Braves find themselves in a very precarious situation because A, they had to reschedule the games, and B, now we have a doubleheader that if the Braves would have won today, if I'm remembering this correctly, they would have, and they won the first game of the doubleheader, they wouldn't need the second game. But since they lost, now we've got 3 teams in the mix. We've got the Braves, we've got the Mets, and we've got the Diamondbacks. And if either team sweeps, the Diamondbacks get in and the loser is out. If they split, the Diamondbacks are out. So I think I got that right. That right.
Yeah.
And this is from Talking Baseball. It says the Diamondbacks and Mets have won and the Braves lost. So yeah, pretty much yeah. If they split, the Braves and the Mets are in. If the Braves sweep, the Mets are out. Diamondbacks are in, and vice versa. If the Mets sweep, this is. I mean, you have a tale of three totally different teams here, and the reason I wanted to bring this up is because it's the only real kind of regular season talk that we really have left, and ironically enough, I mean, because you got the Braves, who I think the vast majority of people picked to win the National League East.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people picked them to win the World Series. And we saw Spencer Strider go down very early, Acuna go down. Just a whole plethora of injuries just plague this team. And then you look at the Mets. The Mets have, I'm not going to say come out of nowhere, but surprised a lot of folks, especially like All-Star game or post All-Star game. I mean, there was, arguments that Lindor should be on the All-Star team and not Pete Alonso. I mean, there was a whole, is this going to be a total breakdown, blow it up, start over again? You've got the Pete Alonso impending free agency. Do they extend him? Do they let him walk? There's a whole circus going around. And if you remember back, last year they trade Justin Verlander, they trade Max Scherzer because they're like, we're 3 years out from actually making a push.
Mm-hmm.
So out of nowhere, I mean, they kind of, I'm not going to say pull the Tigers, but did so in less dramatic fashion.
Sure.
And then you've got the Diamondbacks, who are trying to basically do what they did last year.
Yep.
And you look at, and it's, I know it's kind of a bold statement, but the spark plug that makes that team go is Corbin Carroll. Mm-hmm. He got off to an atrocious start at the beginning of the season, as well did the team. Mm-hmm. Once he kind of figured shit out, that whole team figured it out.
Yep. And unfortunately for them, a little bit was when he started to figure it out, then Christian Walker went down with the injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was pretty much up to about the last month where they finally get everybody back together, and that's when they really, really, turned it on and got hot again. And but if they would have had both of them at the same time, might maybe not be in this situation here where they're putting the ball in two other teams' scores.
And as big of a Braves fan as I am, I would much rather see the Mets or the Diamondbacks in the playoffs, just because of the excitement factor. I have a feeling both of those teams are going to be more competitive in that wild card round. They're going to be more competitive than the Braves. Mm-hmm. Just because the Braves are all hurt.
Yeah.
No, because go back to last year. The Braves had a historically potent offense. Team gets off to a little bit of a slow start. Next thing you know, their number one player's gone, number one pitcher's gone, and we kind of saw that when they made the World Series run. They replace Acuna with little pieces here and there throughout the season, kind of, fill some holes at the trade deadline. We really didn't see that happen this year. So as far as, this is very reminiscent of what, the last time Acuna went down. I'm going to argue that it's not. Mm-hmm. But yeah, now, again, we talked about the Tigers and how hot they are and how no one wants to face them. Whichever teams make it into those last two wild card spots on the National League side, I wouldn't want to face them at all.
Right. I agree.
And because we've seen what a hot Diamondbacks team can do. We saw it last year. Mm-hmm. And now with the Mets, I'm not so much sold on the Mets. So I'm kind of hoping for one of those teams to sweep so that the Snakes get in.
Right.
Because I want to see that team again.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that team again. Maybe it's selfish of me. I don't know, but
they're just fun to watch.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch. I like that I like that style. I guess that's what I really like about watching this Tigers team too, and just watch how it's manufacturing runs, situational hitting. It's not, you don't have your boppers. You don't have, 4 or 5 guys that are batting around 300. Mm-hmm. You don't have that in your lineup. You have guys that, in situations when there's runners on base, they're able to just it might be a guy that's batting 230, 240 on the season, but situational hitting, and that's when they show up and they're able to get it done. And they're stealing bases and they're manufacturing them, and then they're playing defense and not throwing the ball around, and that's that's when the Tigers started playing their best. You can sit here and you can talk about like Torkelson coming back and that being the big deal, but like for me, when the Tigers really made that turn, to me, it's when Parker Meadows comes back.
Yes.
Parker Meadows, I believe, is maybe the best defensive center fielder in all of baseball. That's how good he is out there.
Yep.
And then when he started getting it going with the bat, like he's the catalyst of this team. He's the leadoff batter. Then because early in the season when he was struggling, they had him down batting 8, 9 in the lineup. He was batting just over 100 for a long time. They sent him down. He comes back up, and since then, I mean, been basically a 300 hitter. He's on base all the time. He steals bases, and so going back to talking about the Diamondbacks, that's Carroll.
Yeah.
Carroll's that guy. When he has it going, he's on base all the time. He's turning doubles into triples. He's turning singles into doubles.
Going
he can
first to third.
Yes, first to third. That to me is a huge deal. Like, and that's the thing with both of those teams. To where when you start talking about like the Yankees have boppers in their lineup. They're expecting Soto to hit doubles and home runs. They're expecting Judge to hit doubles and home runs. And if those guys don't show up, who else is going to do it? That's how those teams are built. They have they spend a shit ton of money. They have the big names in the lineup, but they don't have the grinders to where when you get into situational games and you got to make this happen, that's the style of baseball that I enjoy watching. And it's probably because I'm a fan of a team that doesn't have those big poppers. So,
but no, this should be tomorrow should be exciting. And if you're really wondering, you can watch both games on ESPN, I believe, ESPN2, excuse me. I think the first one starts at 1:00, I think. So definitely keep you guys and gals updated on that. Well, 2Ks, let's jump into some football here. Unless there's anything that you want to tie on with the Tigers or the playoffs.
Nope, I covered it all. I'm just excited for it. I'm ready to watch it.
Well, before we get into the NFL side of things, 2Ks, I want to say thank you for your Wolverines beating Minnesota.
Yeah.
Not only because exactly what would have happened.
Yeah.
If Michigan loses, we get all fed the biggest line of bullshit again that PJ Fleck is the greatest coach in college football history. So I just wanted to throw that out there and publicly say thank you. Thank you for, because to quote Ty Schmidt off the Pat McAfee show, he's a snake oil salesman. Starts out good, then takes a shit. Well, you know what? His team hasn't started out good this year, so I'm not sure what's going to happen when they take a shit.
He really hasn't got anything going since he left Kalamazoo. So, and that's one of the things I just can't really wrap my head around is when you get to every single offseason and you start to see coaches moving and obviously coaching jobs open up. He's always one of those names that's talked about, and I'm like,
why?
Yeah, I mean, like, he did it at Western, was a phenomenal coach at Western. What he did there and for the city of Kalamazoo and turning that program around, unbelievable. But since then, I just don't know if he's.
Do you think that the jump from a MAC school to a Big Ten school might have been too big of a jump?
Yeah, 100%. And and he kind of that's working against him. And then he also went to Minnesota. There really hasn't been anybody that's jumped into that seat as the head coach of Minnesota. And they're known for their hockey team, not their. That's a hockey state, not a football state. So,
no,
except for those Vikings. Except for them Vikings.
Which, hey, excellent segue. Excellent fucking segue. Well, as we mentioned, we got the Bills Ravens going on. Ravens are up 7-3. And it's end of the first quarter. That's what I was looking for. Let's start off the first one here. Saints at Falcons. The Saints team, both these teams, 2Ks, I really don't have a handle on what they really are.
I think they're both pretty good teams. We
saw week one, Falcons sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Flip side, Saints destroyed week one, week two. Then they've lost 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never really buying into Derek Carr. And then when I did pick him up on fantasy last week, he scores like 9 points. So fuck Derek Carr. But Kamara's back.
Yeah.
Chris Olave stud.
Kamara and Olave both are studs.
And that Saints defense is still the Saints defense. And with the Falcons, we've got a whole new coaching staff. Obviously, with the Kirk Cousins experiment is working now.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw Aaron Rodgers get off to kind of a slow start. And then
I mean, it's a first game back off of a very, very significant injury. Like, first game back, and like today, I thought Aaron Rodgers looked awesome last week.
Thursday,
primetime game on Thursday looked awesome. That was like old version of Aaron Rodgers, throwing the ball on time, throwing it all over the place. Like, yes, I mean, he looked
level.
Now today, I think you just have to throw that one in the can.
Yep.
Don't ever talk about it again. Like, weather's terrible. He's still coming back off of this injury. He's still trying to get comfortable with this. Yeah, and look, Denver's defense is legit.
Always has been.
They are legit. It's a Sean Payton coach team. They're going to play defense, and they're going to grind things out. And to me, Sean Payton being a head coach, and again, weather like this, I think he's going to win that game majority of the time. He's going to come out on top of that. That's just the coach that he is. He's a grinder, and he gets his team show up in situations like this. But for Aaron Rodgers, not looking as sharp today, he's coming back off this injury also. And when the weather's like this, he can sit there and say that he's 100% and he's good to go. But there's still mentally, you have to be a little bit like, all right, do I trust this?
Yeah.
Am I good? And I think the version of Rodgers that we're going to get, post week 6, post week 7, get into the middle of the season towards the end, I think this Jets team's going to take off. I think they're going to take off. He's too damn good. And once he gets 100% comfortable, I think he's 100%. I just don't think he's 100% comfortable right now with what he can do. And once he gets there, man. But then, talking about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, beginning of the season, first game of the year, looked like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, we're starting to see old big dick Kirk Cousins coming back out. And these are, to me, are both good teams, Falcons and Saints.
And Falcons fans were saying, where's Michael Penix?
Mm-hmm.
This guy stinks. Get him the fuck out of here. Pump the brakes a little bit. Pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. And look, like, you can say you want Michael Penix off. I mean, look, great college career. I think he's still going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He's going to have his time, but why not? Like, these rookie quarterbacks. I mean, Jaden Daniels looked great last Monday night.
And today
looked great. Yeah, he's looking good. But like, Caleb Williams has looked okay.
Oh, he's looked horrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's look. Why rush it? I think the quarter, like, take a page out of Green Bay's playbook.
Yep.
Allow these guys to play behind him. Aaron Rodgers, he's had quite the fucking career. He played behind the guy for a while. Jordan Love, he looks pretty fucking good for the job. He played behind Aaron Rodgers. Be okay with that. We don't have to draft his quarterback and play him right off the bat. So, and look, you're going into a situation where you have Kirk Cousins. Like, Kirk Cousins is one of the better quarterbacks in the league right now. Look
one
around,
of the more steady, consistent quarterbacks. He's not going to throw you 400 yards.
You very rarely lose games and look back and say, God, fuck, we lost that game because Cousins sucked.
Yeah.
More often than not, he gives you an opportunity to win games, and he does,
And he showed that today. Falcons win that game 26-24. Rams go into Soldier Field. Somehow the Bears come away with a 24-18 win. I think you can chalk most of this up on the defensive side of the ball.
I mean,
and
Rams having like half their team.
Yes. And shit. As a Bears fan, you'd think I'd know this. DeAndre Swift finally showed up to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
93 yards rushing and a touchdown and 72 yards receiving, which both led. I mean, Caleb Williams 153 yards or 157 yards and a touchdown. And it seemed like watching this game, Stafford was carving him and Tutu Atwell. I'm shocked that Tutu Atwell only has 82 yards receiving. It seemed like he had over 200 yards receiving. Kyren Williams gashed him, 19 carries, 94 yards and a touchdown. It seemed like it's like Stafford had everything right there to win this game, and the Bears defense said, nope, not doing that.
No, I just think, like, talk about Kyren Williams. To me, he has to be talked about as one of the top 2 or 3 backs in all the NFL. Like,
100%.
And he's doing this in the last couple of weeks without Cooper Kupp, without Puka Nacua. Yep. Like, I think he's a better back when you have both of those guys on the field. Like, he's probably going to get the ball more right now than what he would when you have those two on the field. But as far as them not being able to stack boxes and everything like they're doing on him right now, because right now Rams don't have fucking receivers that are going to beat you, so
Nope.
they can stack the box. They can, do what they have to do to stop the run. And
They're relying on a 5'6" guy in Tutu Atwell.
you get Cooper Kupp back and you get Puka back. All of a sudden, that shit's going to open up for Kyron, and you're going to see bigger numbers. And like, what more does the guy have to do until we start talking about him as maybe the number one back in the NFL right now?
Yeah, and like the 2 wins the Bears have, the defense has provided the offense the opportunity to win that game.
Or you go back to week 1 where the team that the quarterback that they're playing against just hands them the win. Here
you go.
Here, take this one. But score a touchdown with it.
But we're seeing progress from Caleb.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're with the weapons that were there. Everyone just kind of assumed like, hey, he's just going to step in. The Bears are just going to dominate. Which I mean,
I think anybody that knows football knew that it's going to take time with Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams, what made him so special at the college level was, he can improvise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't do that in this league and get away. Well, you can maybe do it 3 or 4 times a game,
unless you're.
But he's been trying to do it about a dozen times a game, and you can't do that. And so when he figures out how to play quarterback in this league, and then can come up with those 3 or 4 miraculous plays every Sunday, then he's going to be a great quarterback. Right now, he's trying to do it too much. He doesn't stay in the pocket long enough. He tries to get out of the pocket. He's trying to do things with his feet. He's trying to, extend plays, and instead of just playing in the pocket. That's the best quarterbacks in this league. They play from the pocket.
Yep. Speaking of good quarterbacks, 2Ks, we had 2 great ones. Minnesota at Green Bay. This game got out of hand really fast. It was 28-7 at half. Vikings just took the Packers to the woodshed. You wouldn't know it by Jordan Love throws for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Did have 2 or 3 interceptions. But this was a game that the Vikings win 31-29. But out of nowhere, Sam Darnold is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now because I know he's one of, but he may be the best head coach in the NFL. And Kevin O'Connell and what he can do. I mean, look what he did last year when his quarterback goes down. He pieces this thing together
with 5 different quarterbacks,
and puts them in where they had an opportunity to make it to postseason, and had no business being there. And now you fast forward to this season. I think for most people they were expecting JJ McCarthy to be their starting quarterback. He goes down with the injury in the preseason game. Now you go to Sam Darnold. And there ain't a Viking fan in the fucking world that was saying when all that goes down that,
we're done.
Hey, we're done. We're going to be undefeated 4 weeks into the season. We're going to beat San Francisco. We're going to beat Green Bay. We're going to win these games at the beginning of the year. No Vikings fans were saying that. And then, Sam Darnold has looked like that number 1 quarterback coming out of that draft class.
Yeah.
The guy that played for 2 different franchises that were fucking dog shit. Mm-hmm. And now he's put in a situation where he's set up to win. Hey, he's a good fucking quarterback. You've given up on way too soon.
Well, you know who else gave up on him too soon? Me. I picked him up off the waiver wire. Didn't play him this week. But no, this is. I'm pretty sure most of us outside of the Minnesota area picked the Vikings to be the last place team in this division. And look at him now. Mm-hmm. I mean, arguably the best wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, arguably. Very good offensive line. Aaron Jones is a very, very good pickup in the off season. And you still have TJ Hockenson, who's an excellent tight end. And that KOC's defense is going to be KOC's defense. That's going to play wherever. Mm-hmm. Did the Packers make this really, really, really close? Yeah. But at halftime, you're like, all right, Jordan Love sucks. Mm-hmm. Bring in Malik.
It did not look good in the beginning. But look, you can't panic if you're Green Bay. Like, no. They're a good football team. They're going to give nothing but better. They have a great head coach. They have a great offense. Their defense is way improved from what it was last year. Yeah. Look, this Vikings team's fucking good. They're hot right now. They're playing good. They're beating everybody. I mean, so I think you take this loss, you move on to the next week, and I think Green Bay is going to be just fine.
Yeah. Got the Steelers going into Indianapolis.
This is the like one of my biggest headlines of the week right here.
I,
Joe Flacco gives you the best chance to win. He is a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson in the NFL right now.
He was the best quarterback in this game.
Oh, 100%. Now, Justin Fields deserves to be the number one quarterback with Steelers, and Russell Wilson should not even be talked about.
No. But Justin Fields is playing better than he did in Chicago. However, offensive line's a little bit better here in Pittsburgh than it was.
Yeah.
And the weapons around him are a little bit better in Pittsburgh.
Than what they were. Yeah.
Yes. But Anthony Richardson goes down in the first quarter, I believe, second quarter, something like that. And Joey Ballgame comes out and says, "Oh, hold on. We got this. And honestly, if it wasn't for 2 Justin Fields rushing touchdowns, this game's a blowout.
Yeah.
This game's a complete blowout.
No, it's these quarterbacks that have been around the league and know how to play the position and play from the pocket and can make the throws are better than these young kids that are coming in the game. I know that the college stats are huge, and I know that, but like for Anthony Richardson, like what is it about him that why people think he's so good? Because he can throw the ball 80 yards. He's he can make throws that are just fucking incredible. Don't get me wrong. His deep ball 80 yards is incredible.
But his 10-yard ball
sucks. What else? Yeah. I mean, and he's not the runner of the football that Jaden Daniels is. He's not the runner that Lamar Jackson is. He's not that. So to me, if you're the Colts and you want, because you have a good enough team around you to be a playoff caliber team, you play in a division that, the Texans haven't looked great. You're playing in a division that, you can win.
Sure.
Joe Flacco is your best opportunity to win football games right now. And I'm sorry, but
even last year, Gardner Minshew gave him a better chance
100%
than Richardson did.
And look what happened when Joe Flacco went and played quarterback for the Browns last year. The guy can still fucking play. You go down a couple games and you look at how much different the Panthers have looked.
Yes.
When you put in Andy Dalton in there.
Yep.
Like, I understand that this quarterback position, you draft these guys in the first round or with the first pick or in the top 10. Like you think that you just have to play them right now, right away, and it's not necessarily the case unless you're good with just being a top 5 draft team in the draft of the next year, because it's not the recipe to win.
And this one of the best clips to come out of this game is post game Joe Flacco's interview, and they asked him, well, do you think Anthony Richardson thinks you're cool? And he's like, well, I'm 9 days older than his mom, so I highly doubt he thinks I'm cool. So Joe Flacco is just the man.
Mm-hmm.
I was a huge fan of his coming out of Delaware. Obviously won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, was that kind of average Joe quarterback. The stats, he would throw 350 once or twice a year, but it was Ray Lewis's team at that point. It was that defense's team. So he kind of was just doing his job. And now, I mean, we're seeing dude can still play. Dude can still play. Speaking of, I mean, we touched on the Broncos Jets game, so we really don't have to get into that one. But again, longer in the tooth quarterbacks here, 2Ks. Eagles go into Tampa and get bitch slapped 33-16. This Bucs team is legit.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Todd Bowles' defense is always going to be stout. I don't think any one of us were going to expect this out of Baker. I mean, granted, had a good year last year, but this is like Baker 3.0 now. I mean, this is a whole other, like, he downshifted to get to where he's at now. And weapons are awesome on offense. It's a very winnable division. So I really like what's going on there. But on the flip side, if you're the Eagles, I mean, granted, no A.J. Brown, if I remember correctly.
They were
no Devontae Smith
today. Yeah. Lane Johnson, probably
also Lane Johnson.
Yep. He's out of the game. No, obviously the 2 receivers. So I mean, they are right now just banged up, but yeah, I mean, to me, if you're the Eagles, there you got to be a little bit worried, and I think old boy there is definitely on the hot seat, which I can't help but just love, because goddamn is he hard to like.
And I'm gonna pose you this question, 2Ks, and I saw this on another podcast, and don't answer it now. I want to let it stew, and we'll come back to it next week. Do you think the quote unquote football nerds as head coaches experiment is done? Like I said, stew it around, and for 2K crew, you guys stew it around as well. That's going to be our main topic for next week. Because I've done some research, and there's some very good things that say yes, and there's some other things that say no, not so fast. So we'll kind of get into that next week. So just something to chew on, something to chew on. So let's go to you already mentioned the Panthers 2Ks. This team looks completely different with Andy Dalton, the red rifle behind center, but Joey B comes out with a big win.
Yeah,
34-24.
This game today, I mean, the Panthers are not good. Obviously, a lot better with Andy Dalton playing quarterback, but they ran into a team today where the Bengals had their back against the wall. And there wasn't a team in the NFL that had more of a must-win game than this one today for the Bengals. They had to win this game, otherwise, chalk it up. This season's over.
Yep, and this is, I think now, because if you look at that, and everyone's like, well, the Bengals stink. Joe Burrow stinks. No, Joe Burrow doesn't stink. This Bengals team doesn't stink. They had so much drama outside of football throughout training camp, throughout the preseason. Now that everyone's there, they're just now hitting their stride. So I'm 1-3 looks way better than 0-4. And I think now, if I remember correctly, the schedule kind of gets a little bit softer for the Bengals. So I think this is where they're picking up their head of steam. We're going to see Joe Burrow and this team be back to normal. So I wouldn't stress it if you're a Bengals fan. But it is always good to see number one get in the end zone, especially when he's your number one first round draft pick in fantasy. But you kind of mentioned CJ Stroud and the Texans 2Ks. This Jags team, this is probably the best game they've played so far.
Yeah, I mean Jags another team that was back against the wall. Obviously don't have a win yet this season. For me though, watching this game, the Jaguars, they have to feel like they let this one just get away
100%.
Because Texans were not sharp. I don't know. I haven't really watched a game this season and been real impressed with the Texans. I think they're good. I think they're going to get better as the season goes on. But that version of CJ Stroud that we were watching last season, we haven't seen that yet. I think we're going to get there. Now, the one positive thing with the Texans is, hey, I fucking wear my Michigan hat on this one. Nico Collins is a stud. And it's time to talk a lot about him because he is...
If I'm not mistaken, he leads the NFL in catches and receiving yards.
Yes, like you brought Stephon Diggs in there, and Stephon Diggs is a stud, but Nico Collins is your stud. He's the best player on that offense right now.
100%. Now, Jags ownership said going into the season, this is the best Jaguars team ever assembled. Not by the record, dude.
Well, to me, a lot of it falls on the quarterback.
Trevor Lawrence has been.
Trevor Lawrence he's the guy. He's the number one pick. He's supposed to be the guy, and
just got paid.
And got paid. Yeah, absolutely. And almost have watched him kind of digress as his career has gone on. Now I know he's very young, and obviously he can change that story real quick. But quarterback play has got to be better.
I saw a stat that, and I wish I would have screenshot this, but his stats were better under Urban Meyer than they are this season. That whole shit show that Urban Meyer brought down to Jacksonville, down to Duval County, Trevor Lawrence was playing better football then. Now, same. I believe, because the first win under Urban was in London. So same 0-4 start, but vastly different teams, obviously. But this Jags team, you have a very talented running backs. You have very talented wide receivers.
I mean, the thing now, I think you can talk about the receivers that he has, and he's got really good ones. I think Evan Ingram is his go-to guy. So not having him after the week 1 injury, it's supposed to be getting him back next week, is what it sounds like. So I'll be curious to see what they look like when they get him back, because I think he is a difference maker at tight end.
But that's been Evan Ingram's whole career, even going back to when he was with the Giants. Stud when he's on the field, but
how many games are you going to get him for?
Kind of the shock so far of the whole season. I mean, we've talked about how amazing the Vikings have started off. This Commanders team and Jaden Daniels has blown me away.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels he looks like he's been playing in the NFL for about 3 years. Like he's just comfortable. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I don't watch a ton of Washington football, but obviously them playing on the Monday night game this last week, watched the whole thing. So impressed. Just changing plays at the line, like changing protections. Like it just looks like he is a vet. Like has done this for a long time. And no, out of all the rookies that I've watched so far, I don't even think it's close. I think this guy has just taken that job. And I mean, even though he's a fucking Buckeye, I have to give him kudos for Terry McLaurin because finally I think he's got his guy.
Yeah.
Because the poor guy he is a wide receiver number 1 in this league and has played for how many different quarterbacks and now finally has his guy. I look for his numbers just to completely explode here as the season goes on.
And the one big change, Dan Quinn.
Oh yeah. And you know, as a Cowboys fan, having Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator, I just loved it. I just think he's a player's coach. I think guys love playing for him.
Where's his hat, man?
Yeah,
awesome.
like you just can't help but like the guy.
Yeah.
You know, he was an aggressive defensive coordinator. He wanted to turn you over. Now there were some games that you watched where they'd give up 30-some points, and you'd be like, "What the fuck was the plan there?" But no, he's a winner, and I think he's the perfect head coach to have too for a very young team. You know, coming in there because he is that player's coach that guys just love playing for him.
And we've seen flashes of the Cardinals be very good, but I just think this Commanders team is the best team in that division.
It's hard to argue. It's very hard to argue. I agree with you.
They're head and shoulders above the Cowboys and the Eagles.
How about this one for you? I think they have the best quarterback in that division.
Right now, yeah, absolutely. Like 100%.
I haven't been all that impressed with what Jalen Hurts has done this season.
Nope.
You know how I feel about Dak Prescott. I think they have the best quarterback in this league.
Dak will end the season with better numbers, but I think as an overall player, Daniels is the best one, hands down. Patriots get smacked by the Niners. Brock Purdy played out his ass this whole game.
Yeah,
and
Patriots are terrible.
Yeah, they're very terrible. And this Mason dude has filled in extremely well for McCaffrey.
Being a running back in that offense, you know, that offensive line is incredible. For me, the 49ers go with Debo, though. When Debo is on the field,
we saw it
they're a completely different team. And Debo wasn't even really a big focal point today. I think he's still coming back from the injury. Obviously, they didn't need to use him as much in today's game. But when he's on, he's like the whole team is just comfortable when he's on the field. And when he's not there, it's a completely different team. And obviously, last week, when you don't have him, you don't have Kittle.
You don't have half the team.
Yeah, and you're playing against the red hot Vikings team. Like, I don't know. That's so. No, 49ers are going to be just fine as they start to get healthy. We'll see what the Christian McCaffrey injury has, entail. But even if he doesn't come back, I think they're fine. I think they're fine there.
And
now, don't get me wrong. If he is coming back, the 49ers are going to welcome him back with open arms because he still is the best running back in the game.
If it is like an Achilles style injury, you don't have to have him on the field for as many snaps with Mason playing the way he is.
100%. I mean, that's for years that has been my one knock on Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan is maybe the best coach in the NFL. If he's not top, he's in the top 3. But my one knock on him is I think he overuses his horses in situations where he doesn't technically need to use them.
Yeah.
Like I thought with Christian McCaffrey, like he just used and abused him last year. It was almost like watching McCaffrey like on an expiring deal. Like you weren't planning on having him back after the season, and they just used him up, and when it got
almost to a detriment, later in the season.
And they've done it for how long with Debo? Like to me, like Debo's so damn good, and I know you want to come up with reasons to get him the ball or plays where he just gets the ball because of what he can do in space and what he can do after the catch, but like lining him up in the backfield and handing it to him.
Yeah.
And
when you have so many other playmakers, it's not like he's the only dude.
Right.
Like when McCaffrey was in Carolina, it was him and Cam.
Yep.
And then when Cam left, it's just him.
Yep.
So yeah, you're gonna get a huge workload.
Right. Yeah, and that's been my thing with him for years. Has been like, man, is it really that important to win this Week 7 game or this Week 8 game? Like, we got to just make sure that Debo is on the field for all these games.
Yeah.
And so that's really my only knock. And I just think he's it's you're a good coach when that's your only knock. Because and so I'm sitting here and I'm saying that like that's the only thing I can come up with the guy because I think so highly of him as a head coach.
Yeah, and yeah, we in our whole NFC East we totally forgot about the Giants, but I think I'm not taking Danny Dimes over Jaden Daniels. No, not even close. No. And really don't need to give any pub to the Browns Raiders. Both those teams stink. Raiders win 20-16. Kind of a barn burner leading up to this game. Chiefs go into play the Chargers, where they've dominated this Chargers team. I believe it's like this is now 18 or 17 of their last 18 wins against the Chargers.
The Chiefs had the worst thing that could have possibly happened to them today, and they lost. It looks like maybe potentially a season-ending injury for Rashee Rice, and Rashee Rice I think, has made himself into one of the top receivers in this game. And obviously, being in a system where you got Patrick Mahomes throwing you the ball, but without him, this offense all of a sudden they're gonna have to figure some shit out. Look for like Xavier Worthy to be,
and without Pacheco as well.
Right.
I mean, Kareem Hunt was their starting running back today.
I mean, other than surviving and winning this game against a very kind of a tough team in the Chargers, it's not like it's an easy win against them. But other than that, the only really positive thing I take as a Chiefs fan is Travis Kelce was finally involved.
Yes, and you had to, with all of the pub and everyone bitching about. He came into camp fat. He's fat. He's been jet setting all around the world. Taylor Swift's the worst thing that ever happened to him. You listen to him on his podcast. He's like, "Hey, we're winning, right?"
Right.
He's like, "My role right now is to draw double teams so everyone else can get.
That's what he does. And the thing is, like, look how Rashee Rice has just exploded in every single game up to this point.
Yeah.
That was what I kept saying was eventually with what Rice is doing. They're gonna have to start changing some things up, and then you have just the complete offensive playmaker that Xavier Worthy is, like, and they start getting him more involved. Like, this guy's been in the league for 4 fucking games.
Yeah,
he's gonna start getting more involved. So when that happens, that's gonna open up Kelce. Well, now with Rashee going down, teams are gonna still key on Kelce big time, and so now it's Worthy has to step up. Some of these other receivers have to step up. It's going to be tough for the Chiefs if they don't have him because he's a big time difference maker.
But Xavier Worthy has the ability, has what it takes to make that next step.
Yeah.
So again, we're dissecting a team that's 4-0, not a pretty 4-0, but still 4-0.
If Rice is down for the season, which I have to believe that's maybe the case here, I look for the Chiefs to be looking around for a receiver that maybe a teams aren't. You look at a T. Higgins in that Cincinnati, where maybe he's the odd man out. I think he is the odd man out there. I look for the Chiefs to be looking to make a deal here to get a receiver in there because, look, they're a team that obviously 4-0 right now. They're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. They can't win the Super Bowl without a number one receiver.
No, and the way it's going right now, you can't win a Super Bowl with Travis Kelce, and that's not taking anything away from Travis at all.
He's still the best tight end in the game.
Yeah, and now is the Kansas City Chiefs leading reception guy. So everyone needs to calm down. He hasn't lost a step. This is just how teams are playing him. And if you actually sit down and watch the games, he's in blocking now more than he ever has been. So everyone calm down.
His numbers are going to come. Like he's gonna have his games. He's gonna have his games where he probably doesn't get as many targets as he did. Let's not forget that every year that goes by, you get a year older too, and you get a little bit slower, and you get and sometimes let me speak for you get a little bit fatter too. Yep. So it's just how it works. But no, I think that the Chiefs are 4-0, but the panic is obviously the spotlight that's around him. Obviously, you have Patrick Mahomes. You've won 2 in a row. You have just turned into this. You're the Patriots now. Like you are the You're the team that everybody wants to see fail. You're the team that everybody, nobody wants to watch you win another one. So that's where all the panic comes from.
Everyone that's not a Chiefs fan is so fed up for the quote unquote refs giving you games and shit like that. And for those of you that have said that, watch any of the Patriots films.
Watch any fucking NFL game this season. I know it's not just me, but these refs have taken over about every single game that I've watched as far as the
Thursday night game.
Just terrible. It's terrible watching it. Let the fucking boys play.
Yep. We got Baltimore's up 14-3. We'll see if Buffalo continues the unbeaten trend or if Lambjack and the boys can get back on track. Well, 2Ks, I think we hit every button here. We talked Tigers. We talked MLB playoffs. We did a week 4 recap. Everything in my notes, I think we hit on. Is there anything else that we need to touch on before we get out of here?
No, I think we got it all. I think this might be the longest show we've ever sat and talked on. We did it tonight. We had a lot of shit to cover.
Yeah, well, that and your triumphant return.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big deal.
And that, and I have tomorrow off, so so that kind of has something to do with it. But no, we had a lot to cover, and just wanted to get this out to you guys and gals. Well, if 2Ks doesn't have any other things, I think I'm out of things. So everyone have a great week. We will see you next time. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.